Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peveril with Marky D. Marky D, as always. How are you going, my good friend?
Mate, I'm doing pretty good. So right now I'm teeing off. I'm playing pickleball, hopefully winning my singles. I'm playing singles, men's and mixed over the weekend. New South Wales Open. And like I said, and you had a go at me a few days ago or whatever. I said I'm playing down to competition now. Like I kind of have to. Like I was getting stumped.
Doing a Derek Carr.
I have to. So I'm playing like 3.5 and under, where I used to play 3.5 and above, but I was getting absolutely shellacked. So now I'm playing 3.5 and under, singles, men's, and mixed, ready to go. So we're not doing it live. This might be a premiere. If we do it the right way, it should hopefully work. But I'm also pretty fired up, man. I don't know if
you know let's get into it. Tell me about what's fired you up.
Big Ben said some comments around Lamar Jack's situation, and he's getting a lot of heat. And I don't understand the argument. I don't understand why so many people are throwing shade and slack at Big Ben. He's the better quarterback. He deserves to be able to critique Lamar Jackson in this situation. It's really frustrating. It happened yesterday, which is, it's just crap.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, you sent me some audio before we went on air. So why don't we play that audio and this is from the football and podcast that he does. I think I'm just about here I'm trying to catch up on it myself. And I will have caught up on it by the time this premieres. But I've gotten to the bit where they're talking about OBJ. So I think I'm probably like 3 or 4 minutes off where they talk about Lamar because he's just started talking about Lamar. But you sent me this clip. I've listened to it. Interesting stuff. So we'll play that now. So we'll add that in.
Safety's down to help stop the run because you don't really fear Lamar's arm, his accuracy all the time.
Sure,
he's got a huge arm. He can make things happen when he scrambles and whatever. But you don't fear him just sitting in the pocket and picking you apart.
Sure.
So you can bring safeties down because you do fear him running because he's a different level runner.
All right. So that's pretty benign. You could say that about a couple of different NFL quarterbacks, really. So you're fired up. What's the reaction that's got you, all fired up?
Well, a lot of the media heads and whatever, I go onto the internet and Twitter and you see a panel of 4 people and then I instantly think, who are those 4 people? I don't know who they are, because obviously I don't watch the NFL media, but obviously they got there for a reason. They're all fired up and saying that Big Ben's take was out of line and saying he shouldn't compare Lamar Jackson like that. And then they wanted to talk about QBR stats and saying that Lamar Jackson's a better pocket passer in that scenario and can still play like that. But if you go and watch the games that the Steelers have versed him, and yes, he's got a very good record, 45 or something and 16 Lamar Jackson record. But I also would say too that a lot of that comes down to Justin Tucker, the kicker, and their defense has helped him out in so many games.
Big time.
So many games. Like there's one against the Detroit Lions where he's snuck in a 65-yarder. To win that game. I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is a bad quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think Big Ben's getting heat for no reason. I don't really understand that. That's really my point.
I want to explore it a little bit because to me it doesn't make any sense. I want to just nip this in the bud with Steelers fans big time, right? Like, let's look at 2 things. Now, it's interesting. Lamar started in 2018. Ben, and obviously he's still currently playing. Ben, it's interesting that the advanced passing stats with Pro Football Reference start in 2018. So we've actually got that for Big Ben as well. Obviously, we've only got 4 years versus 5. That's fine. This doesn't add up cumulatively. But if you start with just a player comparison using StatHead, which is a paid-for feature I have with Pro Football Reference, 63.7% passing accuracy from Lamar Jackson over the course of his career, 64.4% from Big Ben. Big Ben wins on accuracy. It doesn't matter. Big Ben wins. It does not matter. Quarterback rating, yes, Big Ben's is lower, but I'd love to see Lamar Jackson by the end of his career. And Lamar Jackson isn't healthy for this time, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Now, they're very similar. Look at the average yards per attempt, 0.2 of a difference. The adjusted yards per attempt, like 0.1 of a difference. Their adjusted net yards per attempt, very similar, right? So, like, I just kind of think and Ben's rushed a lot less than Lamar, but if you take Lamar's rushing out, you probably, if both are 25 years old, 26 years old, you're probably picking Big Ben every day, right? And then if we go into the deeper splits about it, right? Lamar Jackson, Bad throws, has a high of 19%, has a 20%er. His on target's not bad on their accuracy measurements. 76 highest, a low of 73.3, right? Big Ben, he doesn't have a 20%er. He's got a 19.4. He's got a 15%er. Lamar Jackson has never had his lowest bad throw percentage is 17.5%. So Ben made less poor throws. So you can't say Ben. I heard this. You told me about a quarterback rating that I think Robert the Griffin III was talking about, from the pocket. I don't care about a quarterback rating. I care about percentages and numbers. Like a quarterback rating is all these things amalgamated together to an abstract number. I don't care about that, right? And, because ultimately this is what tells you what a pocket passer is. And also Big Ben's played a lot more. Big Ben's had more margin for error in, I reckon, tougher competition than what Lamar often faces. But if you look at the on target, Lamar Jackson, 76%, Ben's had a 76.4%. So I don't understand. Big Ben does not lose in any of this. Big Ben wins every metric. I don't get it.
My first point is why isn't Big Ben allowed to have this take? He's a future Hall of Famer. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's been to 3.
He's played Lamar Jackson how many times?
He's played him as well. He's played for 18 years. And they're all throwing shade at saying, well, you can't say that, Big Ben. Lamar Jackson is a pocket passer. But you go and watch it. He's not. He's a running quarterback, and he's better with a running game behind him than he is throwing down the field. So, first of all, there's criticism on Ben for that, which I don't agree with. And then they try and pass that, well, okay, you've made that statement. Just because he makes a statement, you can't grab another number and say, well, Lamar Jackson's better than you, which is the 97.9 career pass rating in the pocket versus Ben 94.2. There's 16 years of difference. That's a long time.
The other thing, too, is Big Ben has played 230% of the games that Lamar's played, and he's won 4 times as many games as Lamar has. He's got a right to an opinion. 2 Super Bowls.
I guess it's the day and age now. Big Ben, of course, has a podcast, and I think as well a lot of his history off the field stuff back in the day. And look, I don't even want to go down that realm or that rabbit hole, but that is also going to affect certain things. I think.
Yeah. True.
But to me, I like watching Lamar versus other teams. It's fun, exciting as an NFL fan, sure. But to say that he's a better pocket passer than Big Ben, and then it comes back to, well, then who's the better quarterback? You got to go to Big Ben. He's done it. He's won 13 and 10 losses in playoff games with Big Ben. Lamar Jackson's 1-3, right? So it's just a small little comment from Big Ben, and the NFL media blows it up and says, well, Ben, you're wrong. You can't say that. But
do you know what the stat was? Do you know what the stat was that they quoted? Was it a PFF stat about pocket passer? I'd love to know.
It's the one,
because I pay for PFF Premium, so I can go in there and I can debunk this myth too.
Yeah, it's from Robert Griffin III. That's where he got it from, and someone else got it from somewhere else. But basically saying
exactly. I hate when people don't source I hate when you see mainstream media and they don't source where they got something from. To me, you always source it, right? I always give credit. Pro Football References, who I trust, always give them credit. You gotta give credit. You gotta explain where you're getting your data from, so people can. I don't like it when people don't do that. I don't feel like.
You know what's funny though?
I don't feel like you're being fair and accurate.
It's more or less a lot of media is it's not saying, oh, Ben, I see your point, or I kind of agree with you here. However, this is happening. It's no, Ben, I don't see your point. That makes no sense. Lamar Jackson's better than you in the pocket. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm getting. It's no, Ben's just making an observation that is true. Is they bring safeties down the way the Steelers play Lamar Jackson,
exactly.
And they want to make him throw, like most quarterbacks, make them throw and make them throw the error. That's what they want to do. And then Ben does give him an out, saying you are a fantastic, different level kind of quarterback.
He compliments him.
So I'm just I don't understand. I know it's the media this day and age, but it's there needs to be a bit of bit of credit going Ben's way as well, and some respect even that way that he has done this for 18 years, and he should be able to have maybe a better viewpoint than Robert Griffin III, who had one good year, and the guys we talk about Orlovsky, Derek Carr, who you referenced to me at the start, right? Derek Carr, easy competition, but it doesn't make any sense. So they're all gonna chase down Ben over the next few days, saying that Lamar's better than him, but it doesn't. There's no comparison, because in that situation, I would even take Ben winning games in his first 5 years. and how because remember how he used to extend the pocket. He was one of the original ones to do it, to run around and find
100%.
Hines.
I'm shocked that's what we're talking about. You know, like I'm trying to find. I don't know where he got the grade from about pocket passer. I don't know where that.
So
I'm struggling to pull that up. You know, in.
To me, we have to wait 15 years to readjust the situation.
100% we do.
But
Lamar won't be playing in 15 years, man. That's why no one's giving him 200 million guaranteed. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It's comical, isn't it? All right. They're comparing someone who's played for 18 years to someone that has played 5 years and doesn't have a team yet. Right. So, and Big Ben, what he said, you can play it again if you want to or whatever, but what he said isn't that bad. It's not that bad. He's saying his weakest area is this. And what do you do in sport, Matty? You try and find their weakest area, right? Correct. You don't give out bronze medals, silver medals, gold medals to everyone. What if Big Ben just came out and said everything positive? Then the Steeler fans would be like, well, he's saying that Lamar Jackson's better than Kenny Pickett. I don't know. You know what I mean? You have to say it's a bit of yin-yang. He found his weakness, which we all know what it is, and he gave him his strength. And yet the media grabs that weakness point and then tries to cover it with just, Big Ben shouldn't say that, blah, blah, blah. It makes no sense.
Well, put it this way. If you escape it's kind of interesting, and this is where I find PFF difficult, but Big Ben, if you look at 2021, just the season, because PFF, you can't, there's only certain ratings and grades you can compare over the course of the career. Most stuff you've got to compare season on season. But if you look at passing pressure in 2021, the last year that they both played in the NFL at the same time, Lamar, when kept clean, did have a higher percentage than Ben. When he was under pressure, he had a lower percentage than Ben. When he wasn't blitzed, he had a lower percentage than Ben. And when he was blitzed, he had a slightly higher percentage in terms of completion percentage. But we know Lamar scrambles. So, and that's what Big Ben was saying. When he scrambles, you got problems. I just don't understand the flack Big Ben. I feel like the flack he's getting is because of Big Ben talking about it. But as I said to you off air, Big Ben is the one that's been part of Steelers teams that have had to game plan for Lamar Jackson. And the Steelers have done really well against Lamar Jackson. So I don't think we've lost against Lamar Jackson.
To me, I just don't.
So
understand
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense.
Why can't he have critique a quarterback in this league right now? He's done it for 18 years. He's the one that Steeler fans and the NFL media should be listening to, not grabbing a hammer.
Dan Orlovsky run out of the end zone.
You know what I'm saying? But just not smashing the guy for his wrong opinion or bad take. In reality, he's played the game for 18 years and he's done what he's done. And he's seen a lot. He's seen a lot of quarterbacks. And it wasn't really a bad riff on him. He just said, well, he can't throw it this way, but he can do this. That to me is a perfect example of constructive criticism. And I think in the world right now, we just can't handle that. We can't handle any type of constructive
That's a lot more of that's a lot more symptomatic of society in general, but we won't go there.
No, but it's interesting. It's going to put Big Ben out there again. And look, you've told me numerous times that if Big Ben to me wasn't a Steeler and it was somebody else, I would probably hate him. I probably would.
No, it's more. There's other. I think I've more said it. There's guys like Phillip Rivers that we probably all love. I don't know if I'd love Aaron Rodgers. I can't bite into that. But there are some other quarterbacks around the league that if they were Steelers, you would enjoy them.
Yeah, and there's obviously a bias coming from my point of view defending this, but at the same time, looking at them both as football players, you have to go back to if they're using stats, we can use stats too.
But this is like someone back when Big Ben. I'm sure they'll play the quarterbacks back when in Big Ben's first few years that went, Big Ben's only a good quarterback because he can stand up there and get hit until the point that someone comes open, he can throw the ball to someone, and then it, it all works out after that. But he doesn't have good instincts. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because he's had a whole career to prove that differently and to reinvent himself. I don't understand.
Is that Lamar Jackson calling now?
That's the home delivery. It's no Steelers gear, unfortunately.
It's something to talk about, I think, and we got 2 weeks of the draft. But I just wanted to,
it. It was good.
Back my quarterback for a little bit. That's my quarterback, right? Back him in, and yeah, there probably would have been guys back in the day saying, well, Big Ben had the defense and this kind of stuff. And it's, they even went on to say that in one of the analysts I heard said that Big Ben had the receivers and the Ravens don't. Well, whose fault's that? The organization.
Hang on. No. Like that riles me up. That team has invested a lot of. No.
It's true. It's true. I heard on one of the. I don't know who it was.
That's not right. That is not a right thing. That is an incorrect take. You look at the wide receivers. All right, let's go off. Let's go through last year. Right, Sammy Watkins, Tylan Wallace is a good player. He's a 4th round draft pick. They had Deshaun Jackson, who can still do things in this league. Rashad Bateman is a good wide receiver. They don't know how to use him. Devin Duvernay, another guy, really good guy coming out of Texas. They've never used that guy properly. They drafted many wide receivers. They've and tight ends as well. They've built their team to play through tight ends. You can't sit there and say they didn't have the wide receivers that Ben had. That is an absolute load of absolute, you know what, I'd like to swear. And the second thing, let's go to 2021. Again, Tyron Morris, Bateman, Duvernay, Marquise Brown, who they chose to trade. Miles Boykin, Sammy Watkins. We go back further because I go back to, throughout Lamar's career because he's had a better wide receiver stable than what Ben's had sometimes. That's a ludicrous take. And he also had Hayden Hurst. He had Mark Andrews with him there.
Great
Des Bryant, Marquise Brown, like Hollywood Brown. Willie Snead. Willie Snead did heaps for them in 2020 and 2019.
He was good.
Who'd they have in 2019? This is where the NFL media is a joke. Willie Snead, again, Hollywood Brown, Boykin, Hayden Hurst, Nick Boyle, Andrews. That's their tight end wide receivers. And I'm bundling them together because that is the way they play their offense.
Yeah, it was from a group of panel analysts on I think it's called Speak FS1 so it's Fox F1 or something like that.
Waste of time.
It's called Speak. There's 4 analysts on there. One lady named Joy, never heard of her, but she said near the end that
she's bringing a lot of joy, isn't she? This is how they had in 2018. They had Ty Montgomery, Michael Crabtree, John Brown, Willie Snead. All those guys can play football. I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, Snead was good for their team. He was one of our ones we had was tough to cover, but yeah, she said near the end that Big Ben had the receivers and Lamar didn't. But the biggest thing to me which is most comical, is that Lamar's only played 5 years. In 15 more years, 13 more years, we'll come back to the same conversation, bookmark it, and then we'll talk about it. He's not
Lamar. I'll tell you this: I don't think Lamar will be starting NFL quarterback in within 5 seasons. I'll tell you that now.
We don't even know where he's going to go now. You don't even know he's going to be a Raven. I hope he's a Raven. I hope we verse him again. I hope they
pay him. I hope they pay him and they're locked down there and then that's a fail and it's what will happen. Deshaun Watson will have a bit of a comeback this year.
He'll play better. Yep.
Ask for all this investment around him. They'll do it and then the wheels will fall off. Good. This is the fastest way to the Steelers to get back to the Super Bowl. Right? It's Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. Fastest way. It's just us and Joey Burrow. That's it. That's all that matters.
I've been saying, actually, this is a good little segue too. I want to hear your opinion on this. I've been saying the Ravens are going to come 4th in this division. I think they're falling faster than we ever think. Do you think it's going to be Browns then 3rd? So it is Steelers versus Bengals for the number 1.
Yeah, and you know what I find funny about you know what we always talk about. There's always that narrative around the Browns winning free agency and winning the offseason. But I kind of think we do the same thing with the Ravens. Look at all the first rounders that they get in a given year. Look what they did last year in the draft, right? And the amount of guys they brought in, your Kyle Hamiltons, who struggled early, Daniel Falele, who we talked about as well as being a really good guy. He did nothing. He looked average. Tyler Linderbaum started for them fine, but he's playing center. If you draft a center in the first round, he better start and he better play well. David Ajabo did nothing for them. Josh Ross, one of their linebackers as well, did nothing for them. Kohler and Likely didn't nearly make the difference that they thought they would. Travis Jones, the guy I was really high on, I don't think they used him at all well. I do these rookie reports. When we were still part of Behind the Steel Curtain and Steel Curtain Network, each week my War Room show is about rookie reports. That's going to stay when we get into the season. Doing the rookie report each week, and particularly, I said, I would have done the Ravens 3 times because I did an AFC North one I did twice with the Ravens. And so obviously one earlier in the season, one later in the season. I can tell you, these guys didn't do anything. And they supposedly won the draft last year. Even I would have said they definitely did really well in the draft. But I don't know how the Steelers don't win the draft when they get Kenny Pickett, the best quarterback at pick 20. You get George Pickens at like, what was it, 49, 50, whatever it was we got him at. And then
Hayward.
You get Connor Hayward. You get DeMarvin Leal.
Leal, he's going to step up too.
Like, I feel like for Steeler fans, and I'm part of it. I can get pretty negative as well. It's just like it's never good enough. And the grass is always greener elsewhere in the AFC.
This might be one of the best drafts, though, I think. Even looking back at previous other drafts, like from 2019, 2018, some of the players aren't there anymore.
It's up there. 2017 was a good draft, but this is a good draft.
2022 might be, of course, Kenny Pickett if he turns out to be fantastic and a good quarterback, and then Pickens as well, number one. If Calvin Austin goes out there and excels. But DeMarvin Leal, I think he'll find himself a spot too. He played pretty well until he got injured. Connor Hayward's probably going to be that. We talked about that fullback, halfback, because they haven't signed Derek Watt. They'll get him the ball more next year. And then Mike Robinson could be a sneaky bloke that gets more tackles and starts getting more in the rotation. This could be one of the better drafts we've seen in a long time. Like, that's it. So, yeah.
Well, I was thinking, like, do we want to pick up my little spreadsheet, my little draft picks?
Yeah, we can, mate. A lot's been,
and we could rate those over the last few years.
Yeah, a lot's been happening, mate. Like the last week or so, I think the Steelers have signed 10 players or 11 players.
That's the depth chart one. I was saying my draft one. You know, like where I've got all the draft picks. We could have a look at what the.
Oh yeah, sorry, you got too many. Yeah, no, okay, no. Let's on the fly. Let's go with the draft because. I want to investigate a few things. I'm gonna try and bring it up too.
All right.
What was the one with I saw the other day? Can we start with like maybe when was James Washington draft? Like what year was that?
That was 2017, 2018. I think I'll talk about. Anyway, let me pull it up.
Right, 2017 Steelers draft.
Yeah. Come on. Let me just move this one to
the Steelers. I think went 13-3 that year. Wow, that'd be good. That'd be good to see. No, 2017 was TJ Watt, Juju, Cameron Sutton, John.
Yeah, so Washington was 2018 with with Rudolph and that.
Right. Well, even going back to 2017, right? So in that
here you go. I've got it. Right. So which year do you want to go back to?
Let's start with 2017. That's when TJ started, right?
Hang on.
You know.
All right, let me present. No window.
It's only one player from that draft.
Okay, I'll make it bigger? Is that better?
Oh my god! Look at the numbers. Look at the stats.
I don't have everything in there yet, but anyway. So you wanted to go 2017? Yeah. So you had TJ, Juju, Cameron Sutton, James Conner, Josh Dobbs, Brian Allen. Who played a little bit. Colin Holber, who Jeff Hartman of Steel Curtain Network always goes on about. And then Keon Adams, who never really did anything either. But you had 4 good players there. Like, they're 4 genuine NFL starters right now. And Josh Dobbs is a decent backup, right? So that's 5 players. It's pretty decent.
Right. And I guess to a certain point, 6 years ago, you probably can't keep them all. But
no, and I did a show on this last year or the year before on my War Room podcast, and I talked about the fact about how the Steelers had carried players over and what have been their best drafts in the last 5 years leading up to Kenny Pickett. And it is kind of interesting because then you look at, because I sort of said, you got to get a minimum of 3 decent starters, right? 2 really good starters, 1 guy that can fill a need and that you can look to improve upon, and then a good depth piece. So you get sort of 4 guys in each draft. Now, you look again, and the following year, we got Washington, Edmonds, Rudolph, Okorafor. Look, I you know what? Everyone knows I hate Mark Allen, but ultimately he did play a lot of games, right? So that's not bad. Jalen Samuels played enough that he was that depth piece. So 2018 wasn't a bad draft. Mm-hmm. 2019, Bush, Johnson, Lane, Snell, Gentry. Well, everyone knows the weird things of Sutton Smith, Isaiah Buggs, Dylan Gray, Ulysses Gilbert. Now, if you look at this, Bush has gone over the Seahawks. He's still playing. We've re-signed Deontay Johnson. Justin Lane battleground a couple of teams, things with the Giants.
Okay.
Benny Snell, who knows? Maybe the Steelers bring him back on the cheap or someone else does. Zach Gentry, they've re-signed. And Isaiah Buggs has started to make some money. He got re-signed for like $6 million or something with the Lions. So there's 4 to 5 guys in that cohort in 2019. In 2020, you look at, well, obviously we had less draft picks, but Claypool, who obviously we've traded, who knows what he's doing in the NFL now, but like with the Bears, whether he gets moved again, they've talked about that. But Highsmith, McFarland, Dotson, Antoine Brooks won a Super Bowl with the Rams. I think he's might be with the Seahawks now or with the 49ers. I can't remember.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's still been playing. He's been dancing around a few teams. But even then, when we didn't have a first rounder, which is more likely to be a starter in the league, you've got 3 to 4 guys still bundling around in the NFL 3 seasons later. Remember, the average career span for an NFL player is like 3.4 years. So then you look at 2021. Now, obviously, these guys still on their rookie deals, but Najee, Pat Freiermuth, Green still with the team. Dan Moore's our starting left tackle. Buddy Johnson's over with who's he play for now? I don't think it's 49ers, but he's with another team. Loudermilk's still on the roster. They let Quincy Roche go. He's back. Trey Norwood's there as a depth piece. Perez Harvin. So you've almost got basically that whole draft class apart from Buddy Johnson still on the roster.
Yep.
And then you go in 2022 and you get potentially, we don't know what Calvin Austin is, but 6 guys.
That's what I'm saying. All these blokes, like from last year, all these blokes are going to be like football players on this team.
But let's compute that for a second. Out of 53 players, you've potentially got 6 in 2022, and that's what it should be. Like you need at least 5 if you want to be able to draft and develop. You've got, let's call it 5 or 6 here, because who knows if Roche or Norwood still make the roster. Oh no, you've got Harvin there. So that's another draft call. Let's call that 6 or 7 players, right? So we're looking at 13, 14 players the last 2 drafts. You've still got 2 guys from this list, so 15. And then you go back to 2019, you've still got 2 or 3 guys, that's 20. And you go back to 2018, we don't have anyone there, but you go back to 2017, you've got 1. So you've got at least 21 to 22 players of the 53 from the last 6 drafts. You basically half the 53 roster, almost half are coming from 6 drafts. That's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so exciting too, for not only this draft, but looking back at next year. We got so caught up in the draft, and I did a video the other day talking about I'm done with mocks, but I'm really excited for other players in the 7 players this year that will get drafted, or 9 players. What about the other 45 players that are coming back to the Steelers? I'm excited about that. Kenny Pickett's second year, George Pickens' second year, Connor Hayward's second year, DeMarvin Leal, those dudes, you know what I'm saying?
That's probably a good segue into the depth chart that we've got.
Let's do that,
because I've updated that one. So that's pretty cool. So we're gonna share.
The draft is good. You build your team beyond on the draft, right? But I'm still keen to see what happens in the next few years, all these other players.
All right, so we had and hopefully, I don't know if I need to make this a little bit bigger. We had a depth chart that I'd started, and it's not everyone on the, I'll go one smaller. It's not everyone that is on the Steelers roster page right now. It's people that I actually think will be starters. Now, this has changed slightly. Now, orange I had at the time could be moved. Yellow, Percy Harvin, guy I want to challenge. Red was where I saw problems, right? Now, we move into 10th of April. The big additions are Armand Watts, Fahoko at D tackle. You've got Keanu Neal there. I'm not convinced Keanu Neal should be the starting safety. I'd still think the Steelers should draft one in the first three rounds. Slot remains a bit of an issue, but they've got 22 players on offense, 27 players on defense and special teams, so 24 players on defense, 3 on special teams. So we've got – this is what the roster kind of looks like to starters. I mean, Cody White's another guy that could move on, but this is 49 players right now that you've got. That gives you 4 spots. There's probably 3 or so guys that change here as well. So the Steelers are in a position where as long as they draft 5 or 6 guys, or that they can get 4 or 5 guys that can be starters and decent depth pieces, this team looks pretty decent heading into 2023 season. And also, we haven't been through that second round of free agency yet either that happens after the draft.
Yeah, I just counted as well. There was a lot of counting, but I counted about 14 players that weren't drafted by us. So that's works out for us. Of course, Peterson's coming
That's
in.
actually interesting. All right, so let's go.
It's about that. What I counted.
Let's go green.
Look at these brilliant Excel skills.
I'm going to do this and make this a bit more fancy as we go into the season and we do a bit more of that. But,
are you doing green for draft that we drafted?
Green for guys that we drafted. So
yeah, and like they brought in Daniels, of course, was a Bear. Herbie,
we know Green was. I just want to leave him off. All right, I'll highlight him anyway. So we've done a lot, and this shows you that investment in the offense that we talk about a lot. Now Warren, we didn't draft. And we didn't draft Master Teague, but they're undrafted guys. So I'm going to make them gold. All right.
Ogunjobi, that's right. He came from the Browns, right? And he's going to be a Steeler, man. We got Ogunjobi. So,
well, I was really happy that they were able to bring him back. So that's good.
I think he's a key piece on this line. I think he's a big fella. He's nasty. I know he did he chased down Mason, but that's past now. It doesn't matter about that. He's got that dog in him. He's ready to go. So, but it's interesting to see which players we have drafted, because obviously in the one of the key issues you can see.
Well, Minka's another one, right? Minka's another one where it's like we traded for him. We would have drafted him if we could. So this is the other thing. Like Minka, Warren, Teague don't show up on my other draft spreadsheet because that is purely draft picks, right?
Right.
I probably need to do one that's like player acquisition, and it combines them both. We drafted Boswell, didn't we? I'm just trying to remember.
I don't know. I don't think we did. Did they draft Boswell?
Or did they pick him up after? I cannot remember.
I think he was I think he was a camp guy that came in.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So when undrafted, but yeah, it's fine. So and same with Christian Quincy drafting. That's a lot of guys right now. Right? That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the offense. 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 on the defense.
Wow.
And then you've got these gold guys here that we've brought in. I think technically Cody White hasn't played for anyone else either, so you can put him in that bucket.
Have you ever seen that interview with James Debo Harrison when the guy says to him, how did you find the combine? How did you find being drafted? And he's like, you don't know me, do you?
Yeah.
You don't know me. And he walks away. Now Chris Boswell can do the same thing, the exact same thing. He was undrafted. So that is a fantastic find to get Chris Boswell from a camp guy coming in to now.
Yeah. That is typical of that position in fairness.
Yeah, true. But it's still great, though, because the guy's like to James, you don't know me, do you? You don't know me. I was like,
but this is pretty big, right? When you've got, there are 49 guys on this list, and you've got, what was it? I think I said just 12 in green and 10 on the offense and 10 on the defense. 22 guys, right? Plus you've got, Fitzpatrick, we would have drafted him if we could. We traded a draft pick there. So he's kind of your number one from 2020. But this is that's pretty decent stuff right here. Like, let's shapes that roster.
You know what what kind of sticks out to me is that we haven't got a draftee there at middle linebacker, which has been a big issue.
Which is what everything I've been talking about. If anyone goes back and listens to my show, the reacting to DJ, I'm happy with Jack Campbell at 32. I think that makes sense.
And the other one too, cornerback. We haven't got any draftees there as well. I think James Pierre was undrafted. I think he was.
I got to put James Pierre on this list.
Yeah, he was in there. But what I'm saying is, like, there's a two.
But I didn't say he'd be there on the roster. He was unsigned on the 20th of March, despite what Dale Law lived. Not going there. See what I'm saying? Not going there. He still hasn't apologized.
See what I'm saying, though? Like, because we haven't got a guy. You got two new blokes at middle linebacker, and they're probably going to maybe draft a middle linebacker now because they haven't solved that issue for a very long time. Same with cornerback, right? So, but it is, it's very cool to see how this breaks down.
Yeah, it's definitely a interesting sort of proposition. I have to update these numbers after the show and recount, but like it is, you see the impact of drafting well. I'd love to. Maybe I'll do the AFC North as we go into the season, but I'd love to see what this looks like across the AFC North, right? Because I apart from the Ravens who have had to do, and they had to draft a lot of guys too, because It is cheaper because of that deal they gave Flacco. They had so much dead cap money.
I think we missed one there. I think Gentry was another bloke too that we didn't. They drafted him as well, right?
We did because he was
player.
unsigned. He was unsigned when we did the first. I knew we were missing a player when I checked this before we started. I told you I think we're missing a player.
For many years, Gentry had no catches, nothing, and now he's become like part of the offense. They're starting to get him involved too. So, and he's also part of the Steelers media team. Like he's really up there. So I'm keen to see what he can do.
Yeah, so that's 13 drafted guys on offense, and it's 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, Chris Boswell's undrafted. So 9 on defense.
Right. And that's, I don't know the averages, but it seems probably about right after, the years and years of things going on.
But this is where you get value. You've got 1, 2, 3. I mean, the Master Teague's actually started in this league, but you've got across special teams, defense, and offense, you've got 7 players that went undrafted that you brought directly into the team. That's pretty cool.
Mate, I'm keen.
Homegrown talent, mate. It's called homegrown talent.
Well, I think that's what Steelers been trying to do. Of course, you didn't keep Juju, you didn't keep some of the players like Hargraves, but money comes into it. The players get really good, and you can't keep them. Same with Cameron Sutton, you can't keep them all, right? But that's why you have the draft every year to get new players, and hopefully you can keep 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, I like it. We've managed to do draft and depth chart
and Big Ben.
And Big Ben. It's been a pretty packed show. The only other thing I'll say, look, I do still think the third wide receiver spot, a bona fide starting DT week in, week out. And I'm not convinced Keanu Neal is the starting safety for the Steelers. Or I want to see a bit more there behind him. But otherwise, like the roster's taken some good shape. It's not bad.
Yeah, I think what Omar Khan's been doing is also, building the O-line up too. I think it's just, but this from 2 years ago is so different.
But when you look at this and potentially moving Green and McCollum being probably a practice squad guy, you're not moving James Daniels. I don't know why I keep hearing this narrative. Like that's not happening.
I hear that makes no sense.
Why would you weaken this offensive line? Look at this line right now.
Yeah, I've seen them. They want to put Herbig there. They want to move Daniel to center and move Cole. But that to me makes no sense. Where you have it now is probably.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Cole at the start of the season, midway through the season, but he did have a nice end to it. I know he had the injury. Maybe that's worse. The rumor is that's worse than what we all know. But I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why you do that. I don't get that.
To me, like those 5 there right now, unless you go and draft someone, and even if you do. As someone outside starts mowing my lawn. Never live in a complex. Hopefully you can't hear that too much. But that's a 5 for me.
But to see this as well, there's 9 guys. They're not under pressure to draft anyone. Like this could very much be, I mean, I talk about my gaps here in red, but this is definitely a BPA draft for the Steelers.
Sorry, I'm muted because I'm trying to mute that stuff outside. What's a position like you don't want to see at all? Because they've been talking about receiver, right, for the draft now too. Now, besides like the crazy ones, like are you? Would anything overly annoy you that much, or are you just like
free safety? Free safety would really piss me off.
So if we get a safety,
any safety under 190 pounds or 195 pounds, I'm like no,
would make no sense.
No. Not in this team.
Yeah, right.
I'd be pissed off with a fullback as well because I think Hayward. That's where
I want to shoot you with another question that I've seen on the old on the internet the last few weeks. We haven't talked for about a week or whatever.
I'm going to disappear this because
it's all right. What are your thoughts on people talking about trading Highsmith? You heard that narrative?
Yeah. Okay. So, who are you going to get? What are you going to get for him? Is number one. I'm into dynasties and team building. If he's not going to re-sign or you don't think you've got the money to pay him because of other people you're going to have to re-sign, then yeah, you do. Right?
But wouldn't you know?
But you've got to make sure the compensation's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, put it this way, right? With the way this team is shaped up right now, would you prefer to re-sign Alex Highsmith or re-sign Pat Freiermuth?
God, only choose one?
Yeah.
Oh, you know where I'm going to go with this, don't you? Pat Frymouth.
Correct. That's where I go with it. So
Why
that's
would
all
you
I'm
make me
saying. All I'm
choose?
saying is, who's coming off contract? Can you afford Alex Highsmith? But
Okay.
I'm not saying go out and trade. But the thing is, can you afford not to sign Alex Highsmith? Right.
Okay.
And so you go.
Well, wouldn't the Steelers know by now if they're going to do it before the draft to use that for
See,
their
the thing
advantage in the
is,
draft?
I'd sooner trade Deontay Johnson and draft a wide receiver in the draft than try and find Highsmith's replacement and get the money from DJ and cop the $5 million cap hit and re-sign Highsmith. And then as I said to you when we did our last show, I was like, I think it was Mad Monday or TDU boys, is lock down the outside linebackers because it was that whole Woodley Debo thing, right? I would move Deontay because I can find a wide receiver in the draft. 5-10 years ago, wide receivers took a year or two to get accustomed. Now, look at the rookie years that, a Garrett Wilson, a Chris Olave, a Jamar Chase, a George Pickens has. We can find the guy that fills that. And I think Zay Flowers, I love Zay Flowers there for the Steelers, and particularly pick 32 if they don't move that pick. So, yeah, I mean, from my perspective, you do re-sign Highsmith. You've just got to think about what impact does that have across other player retention and what other moves do you have to make. But if he fundamentally is like, no, I'm going for $100 million contract, I don't think he's worth $100 million, right? Yeah. I've done a few shows back when we were still with Behind Steel Curtain on this, on what he could be paid. I might have done one when we first started this new venture. I've got another one coming. I was going to do it right after the draft once we knew what it looked like. I think I had him off the top of my head at about 72 to 74 million over 5. So that's just under 15 mil a year. He might need a bit more than that after his 14.5 sacks. But if you actually look at it, he had a breakout year this year. Some of his other years have been a bit leaner. So
I got another question for you. What do you think was the overall reason why they traded away Claypool? Like, honestly, not without my bias. What do you think? What do you think was?
Well, so I mean, I fell into the sense of, the Steelers no wide receivers, but I think they did. If you go back to the tape, Claypool was always going to need to be a flex tight end. He was going to be like a Kyle Pitts kind of sort of player, right? And you told me you'd seen the tape, and he doesn't run routes. He just runs straight. Right? Or if he's open, he gets the ball, he does something, right? Or he's fast enough and big enough on the line that he can do a jet sweep and score some of those short yardage touchdowns. I think that the Steelers thought maybe he could develop a bit more. I don't think he works hard at his game, and that's really disappointing. I think he's had a lot of potential, but I never think he works hard at his game. And the Steelers don't have an offense. In a Todd Haley offense with Big Ben, I could have kind of see Claypool maybe working with the screen game and all those sorts of things. But then a Kenny Pickett, RPO, tight end usage, running back, he's just another person you've got to feed, or he's going to get, upset or disenfranchised. And again with vertically, like we saw, there was that vertical touchdown he scored with Ben. Was it against the Broncos a couple of years ago? I'm trying to remember who it was. He scored that really cool, like long yardage touchdown. But you never saw that from him again. So even all those things he did in college, stretching the field vertically, we never saw that again. And that's the thing. I don't think their offense. You didn't need him as well because you had Pat Frymouth.
Well, that's why I got a follow-up question. Do you think they solved when he left, and this is going to come back to Highsmith too. When he left, do you think that they solved the issue of him not being there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
because I still sit there and say the problem with this offense down the stretch was they didn't work in Najee Harris enough. I wanted to see more short yardage from Najee Harris. Right. I don't think we saw that from Najee. That's a whole area of the passing game they could open up this year, and it could, because imagine when you line up in a Gentry Freiermuth set, you could even have Warren, because Warren can block. You could play Warren in a fullback style role, right? And have Harris behind him. If you're the defense, are they throwing it to Gentry or Freiermuth, or are they running it up the cuts? Like you have no idea what they're going to do.
I think they did that a few times, actually. I think Warren was a blocker a few times.
He was
last year. So
but imagine a 2 tight end set with those two. Are they short passing it? And Warren can catch the football as well, right? So are they running it? Are they short passing it? What are they? And if Kenny's got that opportunity to throw an audible like that, make the change at the line of scrimmage, that's going to be a headache for the offense, for the defense.
So the reason why I brought up, because it was more logical that the Steelers did that. They see you later, Claypool. They had a plan, and they actually won more games without him, and the offense got better.
They fleeced the pick.
Right? They did. Now 32. Now the reason why I say that is if they do that with Highsmith, then how do you, like you said, how do you replace that? So people say trade Highsmith, and they kind of stop there and go, well, you don't think about it.
But my thing is name an edge rusher in this draft that you would trust to replace Highsmith today. Nolan Smith is quick off the edge, but he's not Alex Highsmith's size, right?
But that's what I'm saying to my point is like what people say it's so easy, trade this guy, trade that guy.
No.
And then where's the information behind that to say, okay, it's going to be a good decision, and what's the backup plan to fill that role? You do that with Highsmith, you have only TJ Watt, and he goes down, you got no one on the edges. But you made a good point with DJ, because you go and get him to another team, we get a younger receiver.
Yeah, and then you can do whatever everyone wants and draft Addison at 17 and Dinky Dory, right? Like, fine.
So I just found that, because I found it comical. I think one of the sites out there said trade Highsmith. I'm like, because they don't want to give him an extension.
But what I'll say is, and they still do want to re-sign young players. I think he's only 24, 25, that are good players, that are down to earth. Hopefully he takes a little bit of a hometown haircut. But he, like, unless he wants something that they won't pay him, and I think his family are pretty level-headed. I think he comes from a pretty level-headed background. I don't know why he wouldn't want to stay a Steeler. And it's what I said to you when we talked about Woodley and Debo, and we talked about this. I think it was on the Mad Monday show, or it was TDU Boys last week. Like, he could have a very lovely career with the Steelers and win Super Bowls and get 80, 90 sacks for his career and be up there and, a fairly decent all-time list, maybe with a Super Bowl, maybe even make the Hall of Fame eventually. Or he can leave and go get paid by someone like Le'Veon Bell before him, like Antonio Brown, and go off to these greener pastures. Even Bud Dupree, go off to these greener pastures. Fine.
Then you've forgotten about after a year.
Won't do anything.
Pretty much. I'm telling you, if Highsmith stays there and becomes a Steeler for his career, he's got a great podcast voice. He's got one of the deepest voice in bloody all the NFL. So just stay there and then do a podcast after. You're sweet, mate. Get your Super Bowl with us and you're fine.
Anything else before we wrap up the show? I think we've gone.
I think I had my rant about Big Ben, and I think that's completely crazy how they're all attacking him, saying it was a bad take, but it was like one of the best takes. Lamar Jackson has to, I think, prove it to the NFL community that he's a good quarterback, but he's not a winner. Like, he can win games in regular season, but he can't win the playoffs.
Win a Super Bowl and then come and talk to me.
I actually sound like the Fire Tomlin crowd now. That's the same argument.
That's it.
Oh man, no, I'm good, man. Are you good? You feeling good?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. It feels really calm before the storm. I'm getting excited now. Draft things to come on our channel. Almost finalized my day 1, 2, and 3 big board, 75 players. Just fiddling with a few more ordering guys there. So that'll come out on the show. A lot of next week that'll be out. So we'll focus on that. Maybe Mark and I will touch on some of that too on some of our shows together on the channel. Got some draft player profiles that I want to get out there as well. Deontay Banks is a guy I'm looking at. Guy I've been on since very early on. Now he's starting to get the hype. I think he was mocked by one of the mainstream media to the Steelers now at 17. I talked about that. I saw that this morning. Maybe it was Mel Kiper. I don't know. I saw it this morning when I woke up on Friday our time. But I talked about it on the reaction to Daniel Jeremiah's list 10 hours before that. So kind of funny that came out the way it did. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good, Mark. I kind of want the draft to be over. Like, I love the draft so much, but I love analyzing it. I love analyzing the trends and the new players and what they're going to bring to the Steelers and what the changes are happening and that second wave of free agency. That's what I'm really excited for now. And you know what?
Tomorrow it'll be sweet. I think it'd be fine. If it happened tomorrow, I could break it down, have fun with it. But yeah, I'm more mocked out. I think I'm excited to see who they choose. And I'm like I said before, I'm excited for the second and third year players, fourth year players to step up. Because they're part of the team too, not just the 7 new guys. It's not going to be the Super Bowl winning team. It's Kenny. It's these other guys, the guys coming in, Peterson. This whole team is becoming new. We talked about it years ago where there was no real physical culture. I think they're bringing that back. I think since kind of when Big Ben,
there's a bit of nasty, bit of mongrel.
There's something coming back in this locker room, man. I think I can sense it. Definitely
love it. So as always,
you want me to finish? Go Steelers. Here we go.